Jnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshulamilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaye Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Pravajantam Anupetya Apetya Krityam Rapayano Viraha Katara Ajuava Putreti Tan Mayataya Tarvo Binedus Tam Savabhutam Hridayam Muni Manatosmi Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatam Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Bhaktya Vina Parada Lakshay Kiptascha Kamari Tarangamadye Kripa Mai Tvam Sharanam Papana Vrinde Namaste Charanara Vindam Tave Vasmi Najivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvam Nayanam Charanandike Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Okay, so we're going to continue hearing the beautiful Chaitanya Bhagavat, Madhyakanda, story Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur liberating, freeing, bestowing love of God on Jagai and Madhai. And we begin by offering our most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of our beloved Gurus, unto Sri Guru Pada Padma Nitya Leela Bhavishta, Om Vishnupad, Asto Tarasat Sri Simad, Abhaya Charnaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada, and unto Sri Guru Pada Padma Nitya Leela Bhavishta, Om Vishnupad, Asto Tarasat Sri Simad, Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, unto our exalted Rupanuga Guru Varga, and to all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. Okay. So, yesterday, I heard a lot about aparad, sin, and particularly we heard about how these two were so sinful, but they had not committed aparad. So there's a window open for them, right, where they can attract the mercy of the Lord. Aparadis, it's very hard. I mean, everybody at one point will get that opportunity. Mahaprabu came to liberate everyone. And we mentioned some really scary things about how aparad to Mahabhagavats can completely suppress your bhakti. And how it can be regained: time, remorse, forgiveness by that personality, protection of great devotees, but very severe warnings. We don't want to do it under any condition, right? We have to be so careful. So one verse, well, there was a couple of verses that described how sinful they were. And we heard, there is no sin that these two have not committed. They plunder, steal, drink wine, and eat meat. And by saying there's no sin, there are others which are so horrifying they didn't even mention them. But we know they terrorized and tormented the people of Nadia. So, after hearing this, the kind-hearted Nityananda mercifully contemplated how to deliver the two. All right, why? Why would you want to deliver these two? I mean, most of us, when we see people like that, we just want to avoid them, right? But Nityananda said, Pataki tarite Prabhu koila avatar, ematta pataki kotta pahibena ara. The Lord has incarnated to deliver the sinful. where will he find such sinners as these? Okay. Right? And in a way, this is, part of the Leela. The Lord is so merciful, delivering everyone. And so this is an example. If he can deliver these two, right? And we had a story in the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which illustrate the power of the holy name, because Ajamil was a similarly unqualified person. But by just Namabas, he was freed from his sins. And ultimately, by the mercy of Nam and the instruction hearing from the Vishnu Dutas, he rejected his sinful life, went to Hardwar, and perfected his Harinam and went to Vaikuntha. So we get the examples by showing the worst of the worst, right? That's another glory of Srila Prabhupada, because he came to the West at a time when the youth were so degraded. America was degraded, and yet he attracted and purified them. And one time somebody asked him, can you do miracles? Because, right, that's a sign of a self-realized soul for most people. They want to see some miracle. And he said, yes. And they expected something like flying or walking on water or, creating things out of thin air. But he said, my miracle is that I have turned these very degraded people, these hippies, into devotees of Krishna. And that really is a miracle. So, the Lord has incarnated to deliver the sinful. Where will he find such sinners as these? Now, there's going to be a fairly long purport here. The word pataka refers to patayati adho gamayati dushkriya karinam miti. In quotations, that means sinful activities, activities that result in degradation, and improper activities, right? So this is a pataka, someone who does that. He has sinful activities, performs activities that result in degradation and improper activities. So then he goes on to say, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, the householders have 3 main enemies: lust, anger, and greed. Being attacked by these enemies, human beings engage in sinful activities. Sinful activities are called atipataka, mahapataka, anupataka, upapataka, jati brahmshakara, sankarikarana, apatrikarana, malavaha, and prakirnaka. Okay, now he's going to explain something here. Having sex with one's mother, having sex with one's daughter, and having sex with the wife of one's son, all these 3 sins are called atipataka. Yeah, that's like pigs, right? Pigs do that. No restraint, no regard. Killing a brahmana, drinking wine, stealing a brahmana's gold, and having sex with the wife of one's guru. To commit these 4 sins, or to intimately associate with such sinners, is called mahapataka. So even more serious than what we just heard, this is maha, and drinking wine, that's so commonplace nowadays. Nobody even thinks of it, but it's considered very serious. It's like stealing from a brahmana, killing a brahmana, or having sex with the wife of one's guru. Okay. There are 35 forms of anupataka. Yikes. Okay. Number 1, for a low caste person to identify himself as belonging to a high caste. Okay, that's a sin. It's in the varnashram to falsely proclaim yourself to be something you're not. Therefore, thereby disturbing the social order by acting in ways you're unqualified, you're untrained, so you mess things up, right? If a Shudra pretends to be a king, or a Shudra pretends to be a Brahmana, then everything's thrown into disarray. Actually, in the beginning of Kali Yuga, that is one of the symptoms. Low-class persons became kings. And brahmanas assisted them. And, to do this out of greed, desire for wealth, fear, whatever motive they had. So very quickly, the varnashram system fell apart, and people unqualified for different activities and statuses were performing those, right? So that's one. Two, to falsely accuse someone of committing an offense for which the punishment is death. Right. So and that goes on a lot nowadays. People make false testimony to implicate somebody else out of anger, jealousy, revenge, desire to take over that person's things, Anyway, number 3, to spread false accusations against respectable persons. These 3 are equal to the killing of a brahmana. All right. So nowadays, false accusations, you can't open a newspaper, see the news, all the headlines are accusing somebody or another, right? That's how they live. Friends and enemies, accusations. Doesn't have to be true, like Srila Prabhupada said, give the dog a bad name and then kill him. So then those 3 are equal to killing a brahmana. Then there's another group, to either reject the Vedas or forget the Vedas after reading them. Oops. I do that every day. I forget what I read. I don't want to, but to blaspheme the Vedas. And that, that happens even to, serious devotees. You read something and what? I remember when 5th Canto first came out. And that was the one that shows the Vedic cosmology, right? And very different from what modern science constructs or believes. And along with it, Srila Prabhupada was talking how we didn't go to the moon and all that. And I just remember the first time I read it and then gave a class on it, the devotees on the bus were like, what? And one devotee, nice fellow, really nice fellow, he said, how can that be? And his eyes were wide with, his whole foundation was shaken. To reject the Vedas, forget the Vedas, blaspheme the Vedas, to give false testimony by speaking deceptive words, and that's 2 kinds, to hide something that one knows about, and to hide the truth by speaking lies. So, a high-class person never lies. In our world, people lie about everything all the time. It's just normal. 4, to spoil the life of a friend. Oh, God, as soon as you read these, you feel, you can think of so many examples of even people we know, interactions we have, where these things go on. 5, to eat food that grows in stool or filthy places. Right. Like some kind of mushrooms, right? All right. Oh, yeah, suicide. Yeah. 6. Too bad Vrindavan's not here. But he doesn't grow his on stool. He grows his in a different condition. So 6, to eat uneatable foods. These 6 anupatikas are equal to drinking wine. Wow. Okay. So those first 3, now we're hearing they're comparable things. Then, to take another's accumulated wealth through cheating. Whew, it goes on all the time. Even in the community of Vaishnavas, there's theft and stealing and taking over. Just terrible thing to do. 2, to kidnap someone. 3, to steal a horse. 4, to steal silver. 5, to steal land. I wonder if stealing a car would be the same as stealing a horse. Yeah. Somebody stole our Suburban. To steal diamonds, to steal jewels. These 7 forms of anupatika are equal to stealing gold. right? So you don't want to steal, right? And then another group, having sex with a sister born from the same mother, okay? Because there's different kinds of sisters. There's cousin sisters, right? In the Vedic culture, you have so many brothers, and they have different wives. These different brothers, but the extended family, your cousin, brother, cousin, sister, they're considered like brothers and sisters. But you can actually, once they become cousins, there's permission to marry if it's not fraternal and fraternal and maternal and maternal. If it's mixed. I forget the exact detail. But a sister born from the same mother. Okay, so in other words, what we know as your sister. You can't do that. 2, having sex with an unmarried girl. Oh my God, that's rampant everywhere. That's a point of pride in the Kali Yuga, right? And unmarried girls, they want to have as much sex as they can before marriage. So number 3, having sex with a low-caste woman. Everybody's low caste nowadays. 4, having sex with the wife of one's friend. Oh, so many stories. 5, having sex with the wife of a stepson. 6, having sex with one's son's wife who belongs to a different caste than the son. I don't understand the subtlety there. 7, having sex with one's maternal aunt. In other words, with your mother's sister. Okay. Having sex with one's mother-in-law, the mother of your wife, or the mother of your husband, or mother of your wife, right?
It's kind of, the whole thing is kind of redundant because you're not supposed to have.
Well, there's subtle distinctions if you know the Varnashram culture. It's subtle distinctions, but it's all, it's all about sex. Having sex with the wife of a priest, like a Brahmin, like a guru, local person. Having sex with one's sister. Having sex with the acharya's wife. Having sex with a woman who is under one's shelter, having sex with the queen, look what happened to Lancelot and Guinevere, right? Ruined everybody, ruined the whole Camelot by that. So.
I think there's different punishments for all these things. That's why they're listed separately. Otherwise, it's like, why you list them?
Better just to avoid the whole thing, Don't have sex with anybody. I guess except one's own wife. Yeah. Having sex with a woman who has given up household life. Okay. Having sex with the wife of a learned Brahmin. It does seem to be repeats here. Having sex with, does that mean you can have sex with an unlearned Brahmana's wife? I don't know. Having sex with a chaste woman. Having sex with a woman of a higher caste, these 19 forms of anupataka are equal to having sex with the wife of the spiritual master. Okay, so what these are just subtly breaking down and giving detailed information, because the first one, anupataka, was, right, one of them was having sex with spiritual master, one of them was stealing, right, and now they're giving all of the details, so there's no wiggle room, you can't get out of it. All right. Well, he wasn't my spiritual master, but any of these other ladies, you can't do it with. Okay. Killing cows, becoming the priest of unqualified people, having sex with another's wife, selling oneself, giving up one's father, mother, or guru, giving up the study of scriptures, giving up cooking due to laziness. Madhav hasn't made any sweets lately. No cakes. Okay. I hope it's not because of laziness. Probably because other people were cooking, so he's saved, All right. Just be careful, though. Also, I could say the same thing about Mangala Geet. It's been 3 days since the cookies were there. Be careful. Giving up one's son, or to neglect the performance of the son's purificatory rites. Arranging the marriage of a younger son before that of the elder. Arranging the marriage of a younger daughter before that of the elder. Acting as the priest in such a marriage. Spoiling a girl who has not reached puberty. Pedophilia. Right? Wow. Where's that? Earning one's livelihood by loaning money on interest. Right, that wasn't done. I think the only people that don't charge interest nowadays are Muslims. I went to one airport, I forget what airport it was, but it was an Islamic country, and I did the money exchange there. The guy behind the counter was from India, and he said, "Oh, you should do your money exchange here." I said, "Why?" "Because they don't take any commission on it. It's against Sharia law." So, something that's good, right? Loaning money on interest. Falling from the vow of brahmacharya by engaging in illicit activities such as having sex with a woman, selling one's pond, garden, wife, or children, neglecting to undergo the sacred Thed ceremony, even up to the age of 16, rejecting relatives such as one's uncle, teaching the Vedas on payment. Yeah, there's some websites where people will, give classes, but you have to pay to take them. Right? Teaching the Vedas on payment, learning the Vedas from a professional teacher, selling objects that are not meant to be sold, working in a gold mine or another kind of mine on the order of the king, wow, working on a bridge or another huge enterprise.
What's wrong with that?
This might relate back to what a brahmachari doesn't do, because it said, giving up brahmachari, and then there's this whole list of stuff. Because, you're right, it's just like a job, right? So I think it's not fit for brahmacharya. One, in other words, who's accepted the status of student, celibate, right? Working on a bridge or another huge enterprise, destroying medicine, earning one's livelihood by engaging one's wife in prostitution, harming an innocent person through mantra, in other words, that misuse of tantra, which people do. People born in Bengal have that inclination very strongly. And all over India. I knew when I was in South India, it was very common. So, harming innocent people through the mantra or the employment of creatures such as eagles, sending, big eagles to attack people, I guess, steal babies. So much of this completely outside of my cultural understanding. But it just goes to show you the strictness and the regulations of Vedic culture, and this was the job of the king to uphold that. We have fallen completely from that nowadays. So what else? Cutting green trees for fuel. All right, okay. Trees are meant to be allowed to grow to their maturity, give fruit, give shade, whatever, and then when they reach a certain point, then they can be cut, right? Cooking or performing sacrifice for oneself rather than the Lord or one's father. Eating prohibited foods like garlic. Neglecting to preserve a perpetual sacred fire. Stealing valuables other than gold. What? Oh, that doesn't mean you can steal gold. It means aside from gold, you're stealing other kinds of valuables as well. Okay. It doesn't mean you can steal you don't have to worry about stealing gold. You can steal that. Just don't steal other valuables. No. It means in addition to gold, which is already mentioned, you can't steal valuables. Neglecting the repayment of debts to the demigods, sages, and forefathers. That means you have to do your regulated, sacrifice. Discussing unauthorized scriptures. Becoming attached to songs and music, right? Mundane song and music. Stealing paddy, which is, unthreshed rice. Stealing metals like copper and iron, or animals. Having sex with a drunk woman. Killing a woman, or a kshatriya, or vaishya, or shudra. And becoming an atheist. All these are known as upapatakas. Okay, upa means, highest. Whew. Okay, so then using a stick or other instrument to injure a brahmana. Okay, sometimes in the mat in India, you see devotees getting into fights, they get angry, and they'll pick up a big squeegee or mop and they'll swing and whack at each other,
Wow.
Not supposed to do that. That's, that always happens.
They don't get kicked out for stuff like that?
Well, sometimes depends, Generally not. Just goes with the territory. So no whacking brahmanas with sticks. Smelling objects like garlic, stool, or wine. Why would you want to smell stool and garlic? Anyway, or wine for that matter. Becoming crooked. Having sex with an animal.
Oh.
Engaging in homosexual relations. All these are sins called jati brahm shakara. The sin of killing domestic or wild animals is called sankari karana. Okay, now there's another group. Accepting wealth from a condemned person, earning one's livelihood through trade or lending money on interest, speaking lies and serving a shudra, all these sins are called apratikarana. So when it says a condemned person, I don't think that means someone condemned to die, accepting wealth from someone on death row. I think it means accepting wealth from a very low-born, unqualified, horrible person, right? Condemned in that sense. You don't take wealth from such a person, right? Lending money on interest, speaking lies, serving a shudra, right? Shudras are meant to serve. So who serves shudras? Bands of thieves are serving the boss, who's a shudra, right? That kind of thing. People outside of varnashram. So someone inside varnashram to serve somebody outside of varnashram, that's undesirable. Oh, so killing a bird, killing animals that move in water, killing fish or other animals that are born in water, killing worms or insects, eating foods that have been touched by wine. All these sins are called malavaha. Those sinful activities that have not been described above are called prakirnaka. And he references Vishnu Samhita, Prayaschitta Vivek, Manu Samhita. And the Dana Dharma of Mahabharata, 10 kinds of sinful activities have been mentioned. The 3 sins of killing, stealing, and having sex with another's wife are called kayika, or those caused by the body. The 4 sins of useless talk, arrogance, cruelty, and telling lies are called vachika, or those caused by the speech. And the 3 sins coveting others' wealth, being devoid of compassion for all living entities, and thinking, let my activities bear fruit, are called manasika, or those caused by the mind. So that's a much simpler way to condense all of this and to contemplate. So activities of body, speech, and mind, right? So, kayika, those caused by the body, killing, stealing, having sex with another's wife, and all those other ones, kayika. And if we keep that in mind, right, then 4 sins of useless talk, speech, right? Arrogance, cruelty, telling lies, right? Vachika. And those caused by, Vachika means those caused by speech. Useless talk, arrogance, cruelty, telling lies. Okay. And then the sins of the mind, the manasika, are those like being greedy in your mind for someone else's stuff, their wealth, right? Coveting it. Being devoid of compassion for others, not just people, but other living entities. And thinking, let my activities bear fruit. Those caused by the mind. So,
But
you,
isn't it normal to think?
well, the thing is, when you do bhakti, these things then become transferred from your own benefit to the benefit of Krishna, Guru, the mission of Guru, right? If you're doing things independently for yourself, then, outside of guidance, outside of the rules of varnashram, then they become sin. But there are some things that are done on order, right? Like you want your activities to bear fruit in your bhakti, but you're not attached to it. You do your service to the best of your ability, and then it's up to Krishna. He'll determine the result. This idea of let my activities bear fruit, that means this intense greed and desire to be controlled by fruit of work and fruit of results. That becomes your object and your purpose, right? And coveting another's wealth. I don't know. Sometimes I covet others' wealth. I think, God, if we only had this, we could fix our roof. I'm not thinking it for me. So the only shelter here is bhakti. That's so clear, because varnashram has completely fallen away. And people have no idea how much sin that we're committing daily. And every moment, in fact. We have no guidance, we have no protection other than bhakti itself. Right? So, now the next verse. Lord Nityananda is still talking. Right? Lukaya kare Prabhu apana prakash, prabhavna deke loke kare upahas. The Lord secretly manifests himself. People who do not see his influence make fun of him. Purport. Sriman Mahaprabu is alone capable of cutting people's bondage to material existence. He does not display his real identity, but remains incognito. Those who cannot understand him consider him an ordinary person like themselves and want to laugh at his activities. So now, after hearing about these horrible sins, now Nityananda just spoke in brief, but all that purport was implied in his statements, right? Because when he's talking, at that time, people were aware of the do's and the don'ts, the subtleties of varnashram. But of course, even in Nadia, at that time, people had fallen away from strict following, right? But now he's saying, okay, look, these two have done everything that we saw mentioned there. And when you think about it, all those sins we heard about, that's pretty horrific. They did every one of those things, right? And you would think, oh, how are they even remotely qualified for mercy? But the Lord has come to save even people like Jagai and Madhai. And if his mentality is like that, then Nityananda, who represents, he's like the chief arm of the Lord, right? And he is completely absorbed in the compassion of the Lord. And so he's chosen these two, to demonstrate that, right? And people in general, they don't know about Mahaprabhu. He's secretly manifested himself. And then he says, E duiyere Prabhu jadi anugraha kare, tabe se prabhava deke sakala sangsare, tabahanya nityananda chaitanya radas, e duiyere karana jadi chaitanya prakash. If the Lord bestows his mercy on these two, then the whole world will know his glories. If I can reveal Lord Chaitanya to them, then I, Nityananda, will be known as Lord Chaitanya's servant. Wow, okay. And what was he thinking? Was he thinking that I, Nityananda, will be known as the greatest preacher? No, I will be known as the real servant of Mahaprabhu because I'm taking up his desire and will to bestow mercy even on these two. And as we're going to see, even at the risk of my life, I will do this. Right? So Saraswati Prabhupada paraphrases and gives that translation. Sinful people like Jagai and Madhai are minute spiritual energies. But since that nature is not manifest and material conceptions are prominent, they are unqualified for self-realization. In other words, their spiritual nature is not showing itself, and they're filled with material misconceptions. So, if Sriman Mahaprabhu mercifully revives their eternal propensities as spiritual parts and parcels, then I will be qualified to be accepted as Chaitanya's servant. So, when I read this, I just can't help but think of our beloved Srila Prabhupada when he pulled into Boston Harbor and he looked across the landscape, looking from east all the way across America and seeing the degradation and the sin and questioning how will these people who are completely absorbed in passion and ignorance, how will they ever understand or accept the message of Mahaprabhu? They're engaged in all sinful activities. It was a world of Jagai and Madhais. But he said, but you can do anything, my Lord. You have full power, and somehow by your desire, you have sent me here. So that's why he's called Nityananda Avesh, because like Nityananda, but he didn't go just to Jagai and Madhai, he went to a whole nation of Jagai and Madhais and went to them. And it was only because he had the mercy of Nityananda. But how did he get the mercy of Nityananda? Because he desired deeply, without anything else, to fulfill the request of his spiritual master to preach to the Western world. Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar says he emptied himself of everything else. And thus, with nothing else in that basket of his heart, no personal motive, no personal desire, then what came in? The flood of the Lord's mercy and empowerment to do that mission, which he did remarkably. And Nityananda goes on to say, now they are fully intoxicated and do not know themselves. If only they could become intoxicated like this under the influence of Krishna's names. And that's what Srila Prabhupada taught in the early days in preaching. If you've seen films or you read some of the literature, that time when he was preaching to that group, it was mostly hippies and older bohemians, beatniks and stuff, and intoxication and psychedelics was the norm. People were using them to experience a higher reality, a higher pleasure, right? And so the early ones say, oh, this is a superior high, superior intoxication. You want to get intoxicated, you want to get high, chant Hare Krishna. This high you never come down from, right? It endures and it only gets better and better, right? As Nityananda saying the same thing. Nityananda saying the same thing. I used to laugh about that, that was the approach, but now I understand, this is what Nityananda is saying as well. There's one film where Chaitanya Prabhu, who was 16 at the time, just a couple of years later when he was drafted, he went to India, became a sannyasi by the age of 19 or 20, did phenomenal preaching all over India for like 20 years. But he's only 16. Brilliant kid, though. Brilliant kid. And he's explaining to the person who's doing the film, the people of this world, they want to get high. And so they're using these drugs and intoxicants, and they're experiencing a very high level of a lower high. And we are chanting Hare Krishna, but we're new, but we're experiencing a low level of a much higher high. So it's superior. He's speaking like that. And, he was right. He was right. That's how they could give it up. So now they are fully intoxicated and they do not know themselves. If only they could become intoxicated like this under the influence of Krishna's names. If the two cry as they say, "Oh my Lord," then my wandering will be successful. If persons who previously took birth in the Ganga with their clothes on, when they touched the shadow of these two, consider themselves as purified as having taken bath in the Ganga by seeing them, then my name will be remembered. So, in other words, at this point, any respectable person who sees them runs to take bath immediately. They feel contaminated. But if they take to the holy name sincerely, they will become such great devotees that those kind of people will seek out their association, touch their feet, and feel that they're purified. So Saraswati Prabhupada says, quote, religious persons attached to morality think that by touching even the shadow of a sinner, one should take bath in the Ganga with one's clothes on. When, after obtaining the mercy of Sriman Mahaprabu, the character of these two is purified, the piety of taking bath in the Ganga will be automatically obtained by seeing such transformed, sinless persons. When this is realized, my name will be successful. So then Vrindavan Das Thakur says, Sri Nityananda Prabhu Mahima Apar Patitera Trana Lagi Yanhara Avatar. Yanra Avatar. The glories of Sri Nityananda Prabhu are unlimited. He has incarnated to deliver the fallen souls. Purport: no one is capable of describing the glories of Sri Nityananda. The direct manifestation of Lord Sri Gaurasundar, Sri Nityananda, is Swayam Prakash, his immediate expansion. He has incarnated simply to deliver the fallen souls. Now, after having heard that they're completely sinful, nothing they haven't done, and then hearing this, I'd have to say, frightening and painful description of the different sins, the actions that people perform, and then having heard that, and some of it's almost unbelievable, and knowing that they've done all of that, and they do it regularly, how could anybody expect that these people could be purified, right? Why they would want to take to the holy name? How is it possible, right? But Nityananda is desiring it, and he is Swayam Prakash. He is the expansion of Lord Chaitanya. He is Baladev himself, who is Krishna's Swayam Prakash, first expansion, and his mission is to fulfill the desire of Mahaprabu, to preach everywhere. And his glories, his power is unlimited. He's incarnated to deliver the fallen souls. Guru is the representative of Nityananda. Every qualified guru is a representative of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. The rest of us, to whatever degree that we can try to fulfill this order, we're getting like little partial empowerment from Nityananda Prabhu. Whatever we can accomplish in bhakti, in the realm of preaching, it's coming through our Guru Varga, our Guru Parampara, that power coming from Nityananda Prabhu. And so the stage is set for this pastime. And we're going to start that tomorrow. And Nityananda is going to say, after contemplating in this way, the Lord said to Haridas, O Haridas, look at their miserable condition. So that's text 63. We're going to go up to tomorrow. So we'll stop here, offer obeisance to our beloved Srila Prabhupada, Nityananda Avesh, Jagat Guru, who initiated this flow of love of God. Nityananda Prabhu broke open the dam and the flood went all over India. Srila Prabhupada carried those flood waters to the Western world, broke that dam open, and now so many great personalities have followed and continued to preach by his mercy. We offer him our most humble, grateful obeisance, and to our Shiksha Guru, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, and all of our Guru Parampara, who are so instrumental in assisting us, and are our well-wishers, who we constantly pray to, because we're even lower than Jagai and Madhai. Jagai and Madhai lived in Navadvip, and they incarnated, and they are engaged in this pastime. What are we? Oh, God. Anyway, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bo.